trolling Senator Elizabeth Warren as a snake, and in post after post, labeling Mayor Pete Buttigieg a rat. Two victims of this tell CNN they were so afraid of the online attacks they faced, they don't even want us to describe the circumstances for fear it would start up again. They both just questioned the politics of Bernie Sanders in a public setting, and their personal lives were exposed and attacked.
Well, just what Nick said, I think that's right. I mean, there is no Democratic establishment anymore. There's not even a Democratic Party anymore. The Democratic Party is a meaningless notion that the party, like the Republican Party, has been hollowed out and privatized to a large extent. There are Democratic elites, and so when we're talking about the Democratic establishment, we're really talking about a bunch of people that Nick also does well, which really means Democratic donors.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
This election is the most important in the modern history of this country.
The election in 2020, without hyperbole, is going to be the most important election this country has undergone in over 100 years. Not a joke.
This November's elections are more important than any I can remember in my lifetime, and that includes when I was on the ballot.
There are just 8 days left in what is the most important election of our lifetime.
Where did you guys come to a conclusion about why Clinton had such a hard time just owning that she did something wrong with the email server?
You know, I know that Russia and other forces would love us to have a debate. This is exactly what they want. They want us to have a debate about the internal structure of Hillary's campaign, what's true, what's not true. And I'm just not going to play that. I'm sorry.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It's like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
You know, people have said, if you look at, for example, the heat that ended up around the bend the knee of Colin Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. Many smart people have said it actually was not a thing. The Russian bots started taking out. Really? Yes.
Up and I saw my mom. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should
this
be
is
running.
Not about.
If you're like me, one of the millions suffering from pain caused by migraine, Nurtec ODT may help. It's the only medication that can treat a migraine when it strikes and prevent migraine attacks.
Trump and the Republicans lose on Tuesday. And if they lose badly, it's not going to be because of the left, whatever that means. It's not because of the 50 Antifa black mask guys who roam around the United States breaking windows and committing mayhem, most of whom are probably paid police informers.
Most of whom are probably paid police informers.
Rudy Giuliani, there's only three things he mentioned in a sentence, a noun and a verb and 9/11. I mean...
I'm going to try to get through this. Thank you for what you did 3 years ago today.
And I went to Wall Street in December of 2007, before the big crash that we had, and I basically said, cut it out.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. If we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
I can't do it.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Citizens of the internet, I have returned once again to bring you the continuation, the nail-biting conclusion of the politics show. And hopefully the sound is much better than it was last time. Please chime in the comments if my mic is choppy. I actually already did this broadcast earlier. I'm not going to harp on this because, listen, at the end of the day, the blame is on moi when the quality of the stream is not great. Okay? I'm going to take full responsibility for that. Now, earlier on, I attempted to do this stream, and I did the entire stream, and it did not come out well because I listened to the proof afterwards. It was very choppy. So hopefully that is not the case this time, and my mic is clear. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes. Redoing it. Truth. I didn't listen to the entire thing. I listened to a couple minutes of it. The sound was terrible. So this time I cleaned my computer up. Like I said, I take full responsibility for the quality of my streams. But hey, I've already gone through this material once, so maybe it'll be a much cleaner, better show if you're returning. And if this is your first time watching, congratulations. Thank you for joining me on my soapbox today. Now, I want to talk about the Iraq War you're going to understand why I just made that Freudian slip right now. The Iran War, because this is kind of what's going on right now with the Iran war. It's not over. The MOU was a complete hoax and a fraud, as usual. No one trusts the United States, and they shouldn't. But this is where we're at. Seems the CIA coup with the downstream objective of clearing the way to organize ground operations against Iran from Iraq. Iraq is the only country suitable to stage ground ops against Iran. No other GCC will work. Sea to land invasions have 25% losses of troops in the first week on average. My thinking is that some kind of combined U.S. Kurdish-Iraqi invasion of Iran from Iraq is being prepared now to grab Iran's oil. Iraq and Kurds will provide the main volume of troops, with U.S. contributing 50K already there. MOU period is being used to arrange all of this. Breaking: Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zayed appears to have launched a coup d'etat against elements within the Iraqi government in an effort to purge and arrest the government officials with ties to the Islamic Republic. And that is 17 hours ago. This is from 11 hours ago. The Iranian state media now says it has no choice but to obtain the atomic bomb to remove the military option from the occupation and partitioning of Iran from the table. Readers added context. The claim originates from a user-submitted post. Douglas McGregor, though, breaking: Iran working to create a Gulf alliance on regional security, citing events that led to the Israeli-U.S. war in Iran. That's from 20 minutes ago. Now, I would like to just add before we get into things today, since this is current events, this is Douglas McGregor, what is this, June 25th, a few days ago. Israel fears that what began as a war to devastate Persia is now an extinction-level event for the Zionist state. I'm just going to read the headline there because what I really wanted to show you is my graphic that has stood the test of time. This is Pete. You'll see it says Pete versus Clayton. This is Pete, Department of War Hegseth, and his pal Clayton Morris, who now runs the Redacted show with his wife. They both worked at Fox. And this is Pete doing a hammer throw. Actually, it's an axe throw. And he gravely missed the mark, as you can see. And then ended up hitting something else with unintended consequences. And that's kind of the point I was making about Pete Hegseth and really the United States in general's involvement in the war with Iran, which I don't believe is going very well. Let me aim this down just a little bit more. That's a little bit better. I like that a little bit better. Now, to get into it, I think we're seeing partisan cult media derangement at a level we've never really before seen it. And it's really just starting to get out of hand. People that were insanely skeptical 5 minutes ago are suddenly complete robots in service of a partisan cult. And maybe it's always been this way and it's just more visible now. I don't know, but that kind of explains the thumbnail today. The Fox News eye covering, if you will. And I say this to set up what is going to be our first item of business today. Oh, citizens of the internet, you. And that is a neocon boomer nuclear meltdown. Recently, if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the news, a bunch of socialist-leaning Democrats won in New York. And the freak out in response to that has been very epic, to say the least. It really illustrates how bad things have gotten for our greatest ally because, unfortunately, all of these people were anti-greatest ally candidates. Now, I want to get into the nuance of this. So this is Adam Carolla. I told you people we have entered the chick think era, and it's not good for our civilization. I think that's misogyny, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a typical boomer take. And I singled out Adam Carolla, not because I don't like him, but because honestly, I think he's a right-leaning guy who largely gets it. However, this 80s Cold War era kind of communist propaganda is what he grew up on. And he swallowed all that horse shit, and it's kind of become part of his cellular constitution, if you will. I say if you will a lot. I really need to lay back on the if you wills. But let's go to the source too, the New York Post, who does good work occasionally, like any lamestream media outlet. And I want to take this opportunity also to introduce some new sound drops here.
Who cares what an irrelevant lamestream media is going to say about you?
Thank you, Sarah Palin. Welcome, Sarah, to the Politics Show. And let's talk about, let's discuss the New York Post right here, because
A lot of those in the lamestream media, they don't want to hear that.
This is a boomer take. I set that up incorrectly. This is the boomer take.
A lot of those in the lamestream media, they don't want to hear that.
But the NY Post is pretty famous for running stories that kind of buttress the political positions of our greatest ally. Everyone knows this, of course, but the bigger picture is how these people voted and why. Okay? They didn't vote this way because they're dumb. They voted this way because it's a response to the Trump administration, right? A lot of people voted for the Trump administration thinking, okay, well, they're promising not to do any new wars. They're going to invest in America, and none of that happened. So the pendulum is swinging in the opposite direction. And it's clear that, Trump is kind of this, he's whatever your excuse is, he's become another one in the lineage of Bush, Clinton, Obama, Biden. He's another establishment hack, and he's failed to kind of deliver on any of these big promises that he made. He's just gone with the status quo. It's funny to me, too. People like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, for example, it's like, these people were never on Trump's side until he became the status quo. And now all of a sudden they're like, Trump's the greatest. These never Trumper people are all now like, love Trump because he's doing the status quo. But this was my response to Adam, because I tried to take the high ground here. And I just said, hey, listen, Adam, I think you generally have really smart takes, but you don't know what's going on here. It's easy for ancient, wealthy boomers like you to scream communism like a manic street clown from your Malibu condo, while people who work for a living continue to vote for Republicans and Democrats and get the exact same thing every time. Donald Trump won because he was an outsider, and now he's Donald J. Bush, the neocon dumbfuck. Bernie Sanders was popular because he wasn't one of this lineage. Mamdani's popular because he's not one of this lineage, but also because the half-wit Zionist C words, I'm going to tone that down for the sake of audio, at the New York Post constantly run boogeyman propaganda about him. His wife celebrated October 7th. Oh, these people are communists. Let me emphasize this part because this is the important part here. These people are communists, right-wingers, Republicans, in the same way that Trump is a Nazi. Do you get it now? Do you understand what the game is here? Anything you need to forsake your own economic interests will be said. And so I kind of outlined how the rhetoric here from the New York Post is the same type of rhetoric that liberals employed against Trump, calling him a Nazi. And these conservatives, these same conservatives that are whipped up in commie fever, reefer madness, if you will, commie madness, they rightfully scoffed at the Nazi stuff when it came to Trump, but this one appeals to their cult. So now they're commie madness. Like, oh no, we got to stop the commies. The problem with the debate in America is that a lot of people don't even know what communism means or what it is. So let's provide some real context here. Let's really. So I went to Google AI, everyone's favorite trusted source, of course. A source is a source, of course, and anyone goes to a source, of course. That is, of course, unless the source is the famous Mr. Grok. You're welcome. I'll be here all week. That was, of course, a parody of the Mr. Ed theme song, if you're elderly enough to know that reference. A little too much coffee today. Communism is a political and economic ideology that advocates for a classless, moneyless, and stateless society. In this system, all property and major industries such as factories, mines, and farms are collectively owned by the public rather than private industries. Now, first and foremost, not a single person in the American political debate is advocating for that. Not one. None are advocating for this. True communism. But there are little elements sprinkled throughout our society and our political dialogue, as you're going to see. You've seen, If you're watching this, you're not stupid. But we're gonna confirm our worldview, folks. The theory, rooted in the 19th century writings of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, communism argues that capitalism inherently, now listen to this is good, inherently creates inequality by dividing society into a wealthy ruling class and exploited working class, aka the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Core principles of the ideology include collective ownership, abolishing private property in favor of public control over the means of production. No one's advocating for that completely. But you have to admit that there are industries that should not be profit driven. And I talked about this several times, healthcare, of course, being one of my biggest bones to pick in that department, but also incarceration. Incarceration should not be a financial incentive behind putting people in jail. I'm sorry. If you believe there should, you're not a very bright person. But let's keep going here. Resource distribution, allocating wealth and resources based on individual needs, summarized by the famous phrase, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. Now, we have elements of this in the form of Medicare and Social Security, which are just humane things to have. So there's a way you can have your cake and eat it too with this stuff. You set benchmarks, you create qualifiers, right? we can clearly afford to take care of the citizens of the United States as long as we place guardrails on what that means. And I think that's the best argument probably for immigration from a leftist standpoint, or immigration reform, or whatever, tight immigration borders, is that, hey, we need to have the means. We have this tax pool, this pool of tax money. It should be used to take care of the citizens, but like, what are the citizens? Well, you have to clear certain hurdles to get this money. You have to be born on American soil. You have to, have crossed a certain age barrier, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. But that's sensible socialism. The military, so the roads you fucking drive on are socialism. So this whole like scare tactic around socialism is just pathetic, especially at this point when we all see through it. Anyway, the withering away of the state, the ultimate goal of achieving a self-governing communal society without the need for a formal government or social classes. Now, what does that sound like to me? To you? To anyone who's paying attention? That last dot. The withering away, what does that say? That sounds like fucking libertarians, doesn't it? The withering away. I want the government so small I can choke it with the bathwater. That's libertarianism right there. One of the points of communism. Let's read that again. The withering away of the state, the ultimate goal of achieving a self-governing communal society. That's what libertarians want. They want gays and guns, and it's fine. And I honestly, listen, there's a big part of me that's libertarian-minded as far as it concerns individual freedom, right? I should be as free to smoke my goddamn weed as anyone is to smoke their goddamn cigarettes or drink their goddamn beer or take their goddamn pharmaceuticals or do whatever, and we should all be on that page. As far as, libertarianism involves just the freedom of movement. Now, when it involves the freedom of people to die without a net, then that's when you have to put some guardrails in place if you're a humane society, okay? Now, you look at like Western Europe and UK and Denmark and these societies, we're going to talk about Seattle in a few minutes, that have decided to provide a good quality of living for their citizens. It solves so many other adjacent problems when you do that. And again, the scare tactic is, oh, they're going to take away your personal property. Communism. No. No one is arguing for full, true communism here, guys. China doesn't have full, true communism. They have a society that is humane and values its people enough to provide them with a standard of living that makes them fucking loyal to their country. This is the part of it that America does not really get, is now you have a country full of angry, scorned citizens who are like, fuck America, I'm with Iran, because you haven't provided them a quality of life that gives them any reason to be loyal to you. This is just common fucking sense logic, America. Get on the fucking page, you dumb motherfuckers. And I think I've heard Adam Carolla himself make this argument about housing, for example. It's like, if you give, if you work, and I'm not saying just give everyone a house, but put a program in place that if you clear certain guardrails, maybe you do a year of military service, or you fucking, have you do some kind of service, public service as a volunteer policeman or whatever. It doesn't even have to be policing. Maybe it's gardening for the city or something. You do some kind of, and then you qualify for this high value government, low interest government loan that allows you to buy a house. That creates an environment where people have an investment in their fucking country suddenly. And they're like, oh shit, like I want to fight to keep this. Like, this is good. I enjoy this. Why won't America look itself in the eyes and go, hey, motherfuckers, why aren't we providing a standard of living for our citizens that is enjoyable enough that they want to be loyal to us and continue with their quality of life? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. We have the money being funneled to so many other dick pigs and so many other teats. It's the one teat that makes the most sense. But I digress. That's communism. Now, Thomas Massie enters the chat here and points out how Trump is taking a national stake, or wants to, or has already in Intel, in a bunch of these companies, which is fucking communism to an intelligent degree. Not full true communism, but look at this. Republicans decrying communist involvement in the Democrat Party just looked the other way when this administration nationalized ownership of these private companies, Intel, MP Materials, and that's communism. That's actual communism, folks. And so all these dumb fucks out here on Twitter, crying about communism, are advocating for it within the boundaries of their red cult, apparently. Red Scare. Interestingly enough, communism is the red color, right? The Republicans, red communism. Are you connecting the dots? Oh my God! Anyway, so I thought I'd dive a little deeper into this because this is an interesting little side piece here that you may be unaware of. Trump and Bernie Sanders agree on this, and I'm going to take you to the BBC right now. Something I don't do much, but we're going to do it here because why not? You know what Sarah Palin would say.
A lot of those in the lamestream media, they don't want to hear that.
Sarah Palin, what are your thoughts on the BBC? What do you have to say about the BBC?
Who cares what an irrelevant lamestream media is going to say about you?
She's making solid points here. Sarah Palin has joined the chat. Trump to meet AI leaders to discuss U.S. investment in their companies. Let's plow through this, guys. U.S. President Donald Trump is planning to meet the bosses of some of the country's most notable artificial intelligence companies, to discuss the government's taking a financial stake in their future. Speaking on Air Force One, Trump said the goal of the U.S. government investing in AI companies was to create almost a partnership with the American public. Almost a partnership. Okay, interesting. He expects to meet leaders of the major AI companies at the White House likely next week, although this is from early June, by the way. So this is from a couple weeks ago. So this already happened. Although the president did not name specific companies, the biggest companies in the U.S. working on AI are Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, SpaceX, and Anthropic, the latter two of which are expected to go public in the coming weeks. A spokesman for Microsoft declined to comment. Representatives of the other four companies did not respond to requests for comment. Trump compared the prospective investment in AI to the U.S. government last year taking a 10% stake in Intel, a company that makes computer chips. He claimed the U.S. has already made money on that investment. Part of the U.S. investing in directing AI companies, however, would be to improve America's views of the technology. Intel has a very big plant in New Mexico. AI companies, however, would be able to improve Americans' views of the technology, which have grown increasingly negative. That's part of the investing, partly for perception of the brand. We're talking about it, Trump said, referring to conversations with AI leaders where the American people can benefit from the success of AI. The American people will like it better. Okay. Sam Altman, our good friend of the show, Sam Altman, chief executive of OpenAI, this week traveled to Washington, D.C. and met Senator Bernie Sanders. Did you hear that?
I like that song. Yay!
The billionaires, we got to stop the billionaires. Oh, Don, Bernie Sanders, we got to stop the billionaires. Boom. Hey, Sam Altman, why don't you come to my office and we'll talk about AI so I can give you billions of dollars. I'm Bernie Sanders. I think my Bernie Sanders is pretty solid. Asked about Sanders' plan. Sanders recently said he intended to propose a sort of sovereign wealth fund in which the U.S. would take a 50% stake in AI companies. Asked about Sanders' plan, President Trump insisted that he had been considering the U.S. investing in AI companies for a year, but did not dismiss the senator's notion. Where economics are concerned, we have things that aren't far apart, Trump said. So he's this is the kind of candor you kind of like about Trump, is he's like, oh, me and Bernie Sanders aren't that far apart on this. He can like say that kind of stuff with candor without being, a typical GOP slime bag, but even though he is a slime bag. Where economics are concerned, we have things that aren't that far apart, Trump said. A representative for Sanders did not respond to a request for comment. Dario Amodei, the chief executive of Anthropic, met senior White House officials a few weeks ago. Although Anthropic is embroiled in a lawsuit with U.S. Department of Defense over its refusal to accept broad new contract terms and subsequent excision from government operations, the White House meeting was a sign of easing tensions. Anthropic this week publicly praised President Trump's executive order on AI. So interesting to note, the lamestream media is not covering the fact that Trump and Bernie are aligned on this issue.
Who cares what an irrelevant, lamestream media is going to say about you?
So in theory, it's not necessarily a bad thing because Americans are going to get a, profit from this, apparently, but we know that most likely that's not how it's going to work. It's going to end up like how it works with the pharmaceutical companies, where we subsidize their research, they make a product, and then they privatize all the profits and flip the bird to the American taxpayer. Do any of those companies actually pay taxes? I didn't look it up. That's a side trail I don't need to go down right now. I've said it before. I'm not 1,000% anti-pharma. I think they're very corrupt and they do a lot of terrible shit, but also they provide a lot of good stuff. They save a lot of lives too on the other side. So it's one of those things, you take the good with the bad, I guess. It's kind of like weed is expensive, but it keeps me from murdering a lot of people, so I spend the money. The money I spend on weed, I would save on lawyers' fees and prison time from murdering people. So there is that. Anyway, Tucker kind of cornered Kevin O'Leary on this whole AI thing and did what real journalists do and held his feet to the fire for a minute. Let's listen to this. It really doesn't, this clip doesn't really end with any kind of epiphany, but it's just satisfying to watch, I guess. Tucker Carlson completely cornered Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary regarding massive corporate welfare for AI data centers. O'Leary openly admits that billionaire tech monopolies are explicitly forcing ordinary taxpayers to heavily subsidize their private investments. Let's watch.
Let me ask, though, about why taxpayers should have to pay for this if it's a private business and your tenants are some of the richest companies in the world. Why would taxpayers be required, as they now are, to subsidize this?
They don't necessarily have to do that. They just won't win any contracts. It's a competition.
But why are you getting tax breaks is my question.
Yeah, everybody, you go back and you say, what incentives can you give us to invest $15 billion in the first 1.5 gigs? That's what it takes. I have to go raise $15 billion. That's just
okay, but anyone who starts a business, why should taxpayers have to pony up for that?
They don't. But
well, of course they do. If you're getting a tax break and they're not, so they're making up the
this what Tucker's doing here used to be just called journalism, right? Like, pushing back on people and like making them answer questions. They used to now it's like anti-Semitism because like holding anyone's feet to the fire is so offensive because America has been fucking coddled and pussyfooted along for so long. For so many years in the media.
The difference, there's a state budget.
Okay, that's no problem. That's no problem. I can build it in Texas. I can build it in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
But why, if it's such a good business, would you be asking taxpayers to help pay for it without giving them equity in the company? Are you giving taxpayers shares?
No, the investors get the shares. But here's why they would do it.
But why would the taxpayers have to? In other words, if you want to start a business, but why am I, as a taxpayer, forced to pay for it? Your business. I don't get it.
Well, let's forget about data centers. Let's go any manufacturing. Let's say you're going to build.
Let's just remember, Tucker, that I'm from Silicon Valley and we have a lot of money and power. And money and power is honestly what works in politics. Money talks, bullshit walks. There was a Princeton study several years ago that pretty much proved our government is an oligarchy run by special interests with money. And why am I even doing this show? Nothing is, that's very black-pilled take, of course, but Tucker is right. And like I said, people get mad about that because America's so coddled. But I want to wind this segment down here by going to my banger tweet that kind of inspired it to begin with. And that was, I have some bad news for my Republican leaning friends. And I specifically aimed this at the ones who are throwing tantrums over communism being elected in New York and stuff. The USA is not a gigantic corrupt clown show because of socialism. Unfortunately for you, we haven't had socialism as the government for the last, 250 years. The US isn't a place where people who pay for health insurance die because they can't afford their medical bills because of communism. So there is that side of it. It's the system we have now is broken as fuck, and it ain't socialism or communism. So there's that glaring fucking reality staring these people in the face as they go through their day-to-day life pretending, everything's fine. That's great. It's great. And, go to any major city in the US and look around at what capitalism has brought. And listen, I'm not one of those people who's like, capitalism is the ultimate evil, because it's human nature, right? Human nature is going to take power in any system, whether it's communism or capitalism. I think capitalism has actually done a lot of great stuff. The problem is the system we have now isn't capitalism. It's not real capitalism. It's definitely oligarchic, plutocracy, if you will, where big money just calls all the shots and stomps any threat to its power and make sure that all the ladders have been pulled up. So, you know what I mean? So that no one else can get to the levels that they're at. Now, I don't think that that's an ultimate reality either, because people have come up in different ways over the last several years. You look at like Jeff Bezos. He wasn't fucking, it took him, he built to where he's at. Same with Elon and all those people. They didn't come from, American families. Maybe you could argue that they did come from wealth of some sort. They had a good start. And I wouldn't say we're wrong when it comes to that. But my ultimate point here is that I don't think any one system is the devil. I think human nature has to be accounted for, and you have to control for that variable on some level, regardless of what your political system is, because socialism can be just as fucking, socialists can be just as power hungry and sickening and, human nature driven, self-interested as capitalists. It's just reality. It's just human nature. So then you have the people who were sharing this meme, which is hilarious. This is socialism. So on the left, socialist citizens, socialist leaders. On the right is a photo of the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. The socialist leaders, the picture of AOC and Bernie is literally in the Mar-a-Lago ballroom. Like if you look at that ballroom on the right, just shift your view angle to the right a little bit, so you're looking at the tables against those windows in the background with the curtains pulled. Open the curtains and you have that view. So I just, and I say this not to say that, everyone's ridiculous, but everyone is ridiculous. But also just to point out that, look, your partisan cult doesn't matter. You can be mad at socialism all you want. The reality is the right-hand side is the right wing. They're all terrible. It doesn't matter what cult they're from, red or blue. And this is the type of half-wit boomer shit that people like Adam Carolla accept as reality because of the mental stance, mental space they exist in and the propaganda that they've been fed growing up. I mean, I grew up in it too. I watched Rocky IV with the big evil Russians. And then remember when the propaganda, I talked about this before. Remember when the propaganda shifted from like Russians? Because when I was a kid in the 80s, it was right. And now with what's that show? Stranger Things. Throwback to 80s, throwback to Russia's the bad guy. But in the 90s, you had movies like True Lies and all that. And then the Middle Eastern guys were the bad guys. Then it was suddenly like, okay, now it's the terrorists it's not the Russians anymore that are the bad guys. It's the terrorists. So we see it. But Adam's smarter than this, I think, is what it says me. And then I have to remember that he's one of those right-wing talk show guys that liberals like tried to cancel, for things offensive, being offended. And so he has this visceral hatred or the quote unquote left, which is the blue haired people that are like, you didn't use my pronouns, I'm going to cancel your show. I'm going to get you canceled from the networks. Like those kind of people are insufferable. So, you know, I can understand why Adam's still mad. He sinks back to that headspace, but we have to rise above that, all of us, because for all the insane qualities of the blue-haired people, they also have some good qualities too, just like the insane, insufferable religious right-wingers who think Jesus is the answer to anything. You know, it's like I don't think Candace Owens' whole like religious like crusade shit is, I think it's all bullshit, to be honest, because I think most religion is bullshit, but I still love Candace Owens and I still think she's a fucking force for good and a, you know, great broadcaster, and just not even just from a broadcaster standpoint, but the crowdsourced investigation she's doing into this assassination of a guy that was clearly kind of brushed aside. It's good. It's good work she's doing. So anyway, sorry, Adam, you're wrong about that. Now let's move into what I consider kind of the crown jewel of today's broadcast, the number one piece here. Like a Fox News drum roll or something. I used to have some pretty good. I'm gonna have to transfer over some of these samples. I need to like really get my shit on par. I talk about this every week. I'm like, oh, right, it sure would be nice if I had my samples organized.
Stupid ass boy. Hey, look.
Anyway.
Ooh, you disgust me. Okay. Ooh, you disgust me. Okay. Ooh,
Whoa.
you disgust me. Okay.
That could be a song. Hold on a second. I just ran into something here. Hold on. We got to play with this for just a second.
Ooh, you disgust me. Okay. Ooh, you disgust me. Okay. Ooh, you disgust me.
Unfortunately, it's not in time loop. One of these days, I'm going to come out with a techno song that just loops one of those things. Anyway, one of my favorite right wing. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Some new sound drops added to the show.
Lament for my cock, sore and crucified.
One of my favorite right wing clown talking points is about socialism is that people just want free stuff. This has to be one of the dumbest, however you fucking say it. Now I'm sounding like the most dumbest. This has to be one of the dumbest, most half-wit right-wing talking points for a couple of reasons. First, it assumes that we all just think the roads we drive on and the libraries we go to and the schools we put our kids through just like appeared there out of magic. Where did this come from? I don't know. It must be free. It's free. Yes, that's what I believe. I believe this was all free. No, dummies. We know. We're well aware that our taxes pay for this shit, and we want more of it. Here's Ann Coulter. Well-known intellect. Ann Coulter, who actually has had some good takes recently, but this is not one of them, unfortunately. This is the most boomer Reaganomic take of all time. She says, these are the exact same people who cheered for Hugo Chavez to give them free stuff. It turned out so well, they fled to the U.S. to eat, and now they vote for the same free stuff. Now, first of all, she completely leaves out the U.S. sanctions part of that equation where the U.S. like, we don't like your leader, so you don't get any fucking shipments of food. She leaves that part out. Like these people always conveniently like our way is just the best. It's not that we're out there fucking up these other countries or anything. It's just that our way is the best. Socialism's always bad. That's why we have to invade every country that elects a leader we don't like or subversively remove them somehow with a coup. Looking at you, Ukraine. So this is the talking point that these goons always use. You just want free stuff. Bitch, no one thinks any of this is free. You have to pretend your opponents are that stupid. Otherwise, you lose the argument. That's the thing. That's the reason these people do this. Oh, these guys just want free stuff. Ask anyone. Oh, do you just want? No, I know that my tax money goes to this stuff and I want more of it. So this is what they have to use. They have to dumb the argument down to like, these guys just want all they just think everything's free. They just want free stuff. No, we want stuff. We want our tax money to go to stuff that actually benefits us in society instead of being funneled to, you know, cokehead Zelensky in Eastern Europe because he's high enough to shoot missiles into Russia on behalf of the empire. And, you know, I don't understand how a person like Ann Coulter, who, you know, pretty intelligent person, I would say, you know, like relatively intelligent, like saw through a lot of the manufactured nonsense around the health epidemic thing that happened a couple years ago. But this one just evades them, like I said, because they've swallowed so much of this socialism, communism, Cold War propaganda horse shit that it has like metastasized into their bodies like a cancer or whatever. And maybe not even that. It's just part of their cellular structure now. It's what they're composed of horse shit. Their entire intellectual, you know, framework has a foundation of horse shit underneath it. So this got even better when I kind of chimed in. Yes, everyone knows only rich corporations who buy the government deserve free stuff. Does she know what subsidies are? We just talked about the subsidies that AI companies are getting. You know what I mean? Free government money, free handouts from the government because they can afford to buy politicians. They have a lobby, aka a mouthpiece for bribery. So, you know, this guy says trickle down economics for the win. And I said, feel the warm piss of oligarchs trickle down onto your faces, American working class, because that's what you're getting. So this is my tap the glass tweet that I'm going to start bringing to the table every time someone brings up free stuff. And tries to insult my intelligence. Like, oh, they just want free stuff. They don't know that you have to pay for things. Imagine believing that argument. Free stuff. It's such a dumbass slogan. Anyway, this is what I said. Free stuff is when my tax money goes to things that actually benefit me as a citizen and not a bunch of pig fucks dropping bombs and murdering poor people overseas. I'm just going to throw this for good measure. You know, I'm going to pat myself on the back when it's warranted. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to tell yourself, you got to go Stuart Smalley. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me. But this is the truth about free stuff. Take it to the fucking bank and deposit it. Or maybe don't, because the U.S. economy is about to collapse. That was a little joke. Hopefully. So, okay, now we got freezing rents. And here it is. All the fucking people, all the same people who think Reaganomics has been good for America are against rent freeze. And this is what I said. She says people, this is Angela Belcamino, who I don't even really know what her relevance is, but somehow she's in my feed. So here it is. People who think freezing rents is a good idea are some of the dumbest people alive. I said people who think Reaganomics has been good for America are the dumbest people alive. All you have to do is go to a major city and look around. Those are the people claiming a rent freeze is the end of the world. And it's interesting because, you know, just the fact that these Reaganomics advocates are the biggest opposition to rent freeze makes me think it's a good idea. And I'm gonna bring some receipts for you here. Because if you look at the data on the effects of rent freezes, it's very rich cuntbag think tanks and colleges telling you it's super bad. It's basically like, you know, you're like, oh, here's a fucking Rand Corporation thing about rent freezes. Like, oh, look, here's a Stanford piece about rent freezes. Rent freezes will kill you. So, you know, again, these are the same people. Now, I want to make this point here that these are the same people who screamed loudly that Seattle was going to collapse due to implementing a living wage back in 2014. Seattle was one of the first cities to implement a minimum wage and kind of tie it to inflation. I think it's like $21.50 or something now is the minimum wage there. But back in 2014, they started at 15. And for years, these same people were screaming, this is a death sentence. You're going to destroy the city. Oh, Seattle is burning now. We can see it. Oh, how does Seattle look today? Let's see. Seattle ranks as one of the top places to live globally, frequently placing as the number one most livable U.S. city and in the top 10 worldwide. It scores exceptionally high for its outdoor access, excellent healthcare, clean air, and get this, strong economy. Seems like the experts on rent freezes might have been wrong about the results. You might be wrong about the experts on not even rent freezes, the experts on minimum wage hikes. Minimum wage hike. Anyway, why Seattle ranks as the top level economic prosperity? The city frequently ranks near the top globally for GDP per capita. Strange how that works, considering they opted to pay people a humane wage. Outdoor recreation, easy access to the Cascade and Olympic Mountains. Okay, we got that. Health and wellness. Seattle boasts phenomenal healthcare systems and is widely recognized for excellent air quality and a highly educated population. And the thing is, when you have the money to, live comfortably, your, crime goes down because people can live comfortably without a lot of stress. The economy does well because people have money to spend on goods and services. The quality of life, boys, because you did something sensible and humane for the population. But God forbid anyone do that. It's the most terrible thing. But this is, and look at that, Ann Coulter. Let's talk about it. This is what happens when people get their free stuff. And, this dumb boomer dismissive bullshit, this is what drives me the most crazy about this attitude that like let's go back to this fucking Adam Carolla. I just want to go back to this slide because this is a good example of why this shit is fucking makes me so angry. This slide right here. It's because this dismissive thing like, oh, you're just young and stupid. We're the adults who know that you can't just change things. Everything has to stay the same. And you can't just do stuff that the establishment media and everyone told us for years is bad because that's just stupid. You're just chick think, fuck you dipshits and your granny ass boomer takes and your dismissive, we're the adults bullshit. You are cunts of the highest order and you're wrong. You're all wrong. And I cannot scream fuck you loud enough at people who buy this boomer slop. And I should probably, no one thinks any of this shit's free, I guess, is the point I was getting to. We pay taxes and that money should go to things that benefit us, not your silly religious ethno state halfway across the world, or your project in Eastern Europe where we funnel billions of dollars to a crazy little midget cokehead who gets so high he thinks it's a good idea to fire missiles into Russia. You're the dummies, Adam and Ann Coulter. You're the idiots, not the Mamdani people. You guys are the dumb fucks in this equation. And cut.
All join now and lament for the death of my cock.
Oh, Jim Morrison. I heard that came up in my shuffle the other day, and I just had to bring Jim to the party because he has an entire song about the death of his cock.
Lament for my cock.
Let's play with sound effects for a second.
Lament for my cock. Lament for my cock.
I've never seen anything like it.
That was fun. You got to admit, that was pretty fun. All right, let's get to our next segment, political terrorism tactics. I have seen a lot of really stupid stuff circulating in recent days. As I mentioned at the outset of this here very stream, there's a lot of really dumb propaganda hitting the internets these days. And as citizens of the internet, I'm sure you've seen a lot of it. But a lot of it's I think what I think is the most kind of funny is this retro Muslim hate for 9/11. Like, there are still people in the year 2026 who are mad at the Muslims for doing 9/11. Like, they still think the Muslims actually did 9/11. Like, that's how dumb these people are. So I saw that this guy came out recently. So this guy went into a coma in 2002 and just woke up. Joey Manorino. Hey, Joey, how you doing, Joey? How you doing? Joey Manorino over here.
I like that song, yeah.
Joey Manorino over here says, hey, it's hard to believe the city which you did this is now electing the Muslims up and down the ballot. What the hell's going on here?
All join now in
Sorry, Italians. I had to do a very racist stereotype of an Italian voice since that guy's name is Manorino. And Italians can take a joke. You guys make a lot of jokes of your own, so you can take it. Italians can dish it out, so they can take it. I'm with you, Italians. But the funniest part of this is that people still believe that Muslims did 9/11. They believe the official story. That's pretty hilarious. But I wanted to show you what's kind of causing this irrationality to return. It's this woman. This woman right here has triggered people like Joey Manorino over here. Joey Manorino, oh, the Muslim, yeah. This woman came out and said, fuck Kamala Harris. And that she's the voice of a generation, you know? As my boy Gay Paul says, Gay Barista Paul, one of the best accounts on Twitter. I stand by that claim. Gay Barista Paul, one of the best accounts on Twitter. He says, okay, this is good. I responded to this by saying, I responded to this by saying, file this under Democrats worth checking out. Or file this under Democrats worth looking at. But I'm definitely in love. And brunch liberals will see this and clutch their pearls. But people who aren't mentally disabled will see it and go, wow, this woman gets it, you know? And these people just can't stop making me love her more and more with each passing day. Kentucky girl here, which I'm sure is a legitimate Kentucky girl and not just an AI fucking GOP robot account. A New York congressional candidate, Daraliza Avila Chevalier. Hopefully I'm saying that right. She has called for an end to our borders, seizing the means of production and seizing the property of landlords. She's a commie. How can she be allowed to run for, much less hold elected office? Well, you know, first of all, I'd like to address this woman by saying that none of that has any basis. There's no proof in that. It's just like the scariest things she could think of to say. But this isn't about truth. This is about political terrorism. It's about scaring working class people into voting against their own interests, but it keeps getting better. This is Larry Elder, one of the genius, absolute fucking brilliant minds of today's Republican establishment, I guess. And he comes in with this boomer terror slop, which I'm going to have to trademark. Boomer terror slop, I think, is chef's kiss good. But no one brought the boomer terror slop like Larry Elder here. And he said, why don't you just get her? Get her. He used the famous, remember the South Park where they took our job? They took our jobs, get her.
All join now in lament for the death of my cock.
So this take, I think, is a funny one because to me it shows the cowardice of people like this, right? It kind of exposes them as complete cowards. Like, oh yeah, you don't like America? Why don't you just run away and leave, huh? Yeah, just run away. Like, okay, maybe that's what you'd do, but I'm not that guy, you know? Don't try to fix your problem. Just run away someplace else. That's the conservative argument when it comes to this. Like, just go away. You should just drop everything and get out. If you don't like what you see around you, just don't try to change it. Just get up and leave. Republican conservatives are like deadbeat dads. They're like, I don't like this. I'm getting out of here. The irony is so thick. Where's my Alanis Morissette?
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
So I had to counter Mr. Elder's sentiment here by saying, I'm sure when your car breaks down, you just throw your hands up and abandon it by the side of the road to go find a new one, right? If there's a problem, just leave. Pathetic clowns, all of you. And I love responding with this kind of just like rock solid logic. That's like, okay, really? That's your argument? That's really what you believe? Oh yeah, you just get out then. You don't like America, just go away. That's what you did, right? When Obama was president, and you're like, I don't like this. I'm running away to Europe. Well, guess what, Larry? I'm not like you. I don't just run away when I have a problem. I confront it and I try to fix it. Even if well-meaning dunderheads, you just look at Larry Elder and the word dunderhead comes to mind. Even if well-meaning and I say well-meaning because he might be a dunderhead, but I do think he means well on some level, maybe. Maybe I'm being generous with my diplomacy here. But I do think that I'm going to stick around and try to fix things. Even if dunderheads like you accuse me of terrorism for having the courage to have political beliefs that you might not understand. Dunderhead. And then, of course, you have the reality that these people are all doing the fucking meme. And this is probably the best example of it right here with the New York Post. Private homeownership bashing. Daraliza Avila Chevalier's father is a landlord and rents his Miami condo for $1,750 a month. Oh my God, you guys. Her dad has stuff. That means she's a hypocrite. Her dad. No, actually, even though you guys are doing the meme, we should improve society somewhat. Yet you participate in society. Very curious indeed. Sometimes I just need to consult the wisdom of what would Douglas Murray say?
You're an anti-Semite.
Thank you, Douglas, for that absolutely brilliant mind of yours. Douglas Murray, my God, Douglas, you're such a genius. Anyway, these guys are doing the meme, and they're pointing out how her dad owns a property that he rents out. Oh my God, gasp. So, the other side of this is she probably has detailed knowledge of landlord work If her dad's been renting out a property, she probably spends time around her dad and knows how the business work. So I don't see how the business works, or the business of being a landlord, at least the ups and downs of it, some of the nuance of it. But I don't see how, look, her dad rents a condo is some kind of like political knife. It just looks and smells like desperation. Well, it looks like desperation. It smells like clown shit. Fresh out the clown's asshole. That's what warm clown shit is. I like to call people a warm bag of clown shit because it just gives it a much more like pungent air, right? Like you just call someone a bag of clown shit. You're like, oh, that's a bag of warm clown shit though. That means it's like fresh out the asshole. It's really fragrant and wet still. It hasn't like dried up after a couple of days. That's like some fresh, warm clown shit. That's disgusting ass clown shit. You get it? See where I'm going here? Do you see the art of my language? You see my artisanship at work? You see my I got so out of control there. I got so excited with my own stroking my own linguistics there. I bumped my microphone. And last but not least, we want to talk about the projection of these people, which is so inherent, but this is the lie side of it. This guy's like, oh, he hasn't made a single post about Team USA's 2 massive wins. This is such a stupid lie, too. The propaganda against this guy's so thick, but all he did was say Egypt won a fucking match, and here's the community notes, checking him, putting him in his place. He's collecting checks for this. No one would be this openly stupid on purpose if they weren't being paid to. But, what these people do more than anything other than lie, and I'm not talking about the religious group, I'm talking about the supporters of a certain project, just to clarify for all you would-be language assassins. But one of their favorite things to do aside from this is to get together or point at everyone else and accuse them of the crimes they themselves are committing. So here's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, another one of the great intellectual minds of our time. And she says, POV, the last thing you see before your entire paycheck is taken and sent to a foreign terrorist organization. And then she has a picture of all these communists winning their elections and holding their hands up. And I had to chime in and ask Grok, hey, Grok, how much money does the United States send annually to our greatest ally? And this was Grok's answer. U.S. baseline annual military aid to our greatest ally is $3.88 billion plus $500 million missile defense under the 2019 through 2028 MOU, continuing for fiscal year 2026. Emergency supplements have added far more in recent years, e.g. $8.7 billion in 2024 and $12.5 billion total in that fiscal year, CRS reports. In addition to all that, the NDAA authorizes broader DoD spending and some greatest ally cooperation, but the core FMF is in state foreign ops and appropriations. Supplementals cover extras. So there you go. That's just scratching the surface right there. Thanks, Grok. Thank you, Grok. We love you. I kind of yelled at people for making fun of people. It's really just a way to call Google into a fucking Twitter thread. Okay? We know that it's weighted in favor of the establishment. We know that it's mostly full of shit, but it's there. It's useful. Moving on. Let's discuss why everything is liberals' fault. Let's talk about some ICE protesters that were recently arrested. But let's start by setting a premise here by saying that liberals can thank their half-wit January 6th derangement for being the pretext to lock up anti-ICE ANTIFA protesters for 100 years. Congratulations, you naive clowns. Now, I would like to start this segment by playing a clip that is in my intro, but it's been my pinned tweet for a long time. And I just want to make this point because I think it's a very important point to make. And that point is this. Listen to David Frum make this point.
Lose. Trump and the Republicans lose on Tuesday. And if they lose badly, it's not going to be because of the left, whatever that means. It's not because of the 50 Antifa black mask guys who roam around the United States breaking windows and committing mayhem, most of whom are probably paid police informers.
So he just told you right there, this is former Bush neocon speechwriter, that most Antifa protesters, like this guy right here in the Trump helmet, this just drives me insane. Look at this dude in black clothes, a helmet. He has a fucking helmet on, like a motorcycle helmet with a Trump sticker on the back. That is so, and this is, crowd filmed footage of this guy breaking a window at the Capitol. Look at this. And then the MAGA guy pulls him down. The guy in the red hat jumps up and grabs the cop and pulls him off the fucking window that he's trying to break. So with that in mind, let's fast forward to a couple days ago. And you have this moron, Dave Portnoy.
I don't know. What about
It's hard to believe this guy was interviewing at some point.
Like you don't like people with money.
Protest
like
a decade ago is
well,
now basically the face of the Democratic Party.
Well, I mean, do you think if you worked as hard as I was rich as I was, had a house in Nantucket, vacationed on the beach, had beautiful sunsets at the galley, you'd be walking around with a mask on right now?
I'm not going to betray my values for that. I'm not going to build myself up.
So he says this guy, this Antifa guy, who we just found out is probably a cop, is the new face of the Democratic Party. And I think that he's actually correct on accident here, because the true face of the Democratic Party is, in fact, undercover cops. It's not Antifa by any stretch, not legitimate Antifa. It's definitely Abigail Spanberger and Alyssa Slotkin are CIA agents. So the new face of the Democratic Party is that guy, an undercover cop, basically. And there it is. Dave thinks that the new face of the Democratic Party is like insane leftist because he's a piece of clown stool. In fact, he is the clown stool presidente. I'd like to, another term I need to copyright there, because he is the stool presidente. Not only the stool presidente, he's the president of stool. He's the president of clown stool. So, in case you were unaware of this, here's what recently happened to some ICE protesters.
In two federal courts yesterday, a group of protesters received unusually long sentences after the Justice Department accused them of being members of the far-left movement Antifa. The sentences range from 30 to 100 years in prison, longer than the harshest sentence handed down to any of the convicted rioters in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol in 2021. All of those people have since received pardons or commutations from.
I would like to see the data on that, because I don't believe that that's true. I think that the partisanization of this, or the partisanization, however you say it, Trump did, of course, pardon most of the J6 people, but I believe that a lot of them had sentences that were just as outrageous as these people.
President Trump. Our justice correspondent, Ali Rogan, has more.
These 9 protesters were arrested after they demonstrated outside a migrant detention facility in Texas last year. During the protest, a police officer was shot in the neck. He survived. Their case is the first to incorporate new guidance from a presidential declaration last year that labels Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization.
There it is, a domestic terrorist organization. So again, thank you, liberals, for giving the Trump government now the baton. And, you know, all was going, see, this is why you got to vote for Democrats. The Democrats would be doing the same shit on the other side. Right now, if the Democrats were president, were in the White House, Tucker Carlson, the real opposition to the mess in Gaza, to put it lightly, would be called, you know, anti-Semitic, white supremacist, white nationalists, and thrown in prison as domestic terrorists too. So you can't win. And the point is, you should be consistent and not be a fucking cult member. But this is what dumbass liberals enabled. And if you go back and look at the things I said from the beginning on January 6th, people like myself constantly warned this was coming because Democrats had this lust for jailing MAGA people and you know, would scream, fuck around and find out to someone like Ashley Babbitt, when on the flip side, you know, George Floyd didn't deserve to be killed. And this is what you unleashed, Biden liberals. And it gets better. I shared this the other day on my feed, and I want to show it to you. And I was half joking, of course. But I said, police brutality, it's not just for black people anymore. Look at this. Holy shit. Now, mind you, this is a little violent. I'm sorry, but like, that kid did absolutely nothing. What happened? What did he say? This cop literally just walks up. Oh, is it because this guy flipped him off? This guy with the purse over here? I didn't even see that. Well, whatever the case, look at this. The cop just rolls up and punches the guy instantly. Not even a like, holy shit. So this is what you're dealing with thanks to January 6th derangement. I hope you're happy about this. Because again, guys, taking the government side is never the right answer, regardless of which color cult you belong to. It's always stupid. Whether you support the state murder in Ashley Babbitt as a blue fucking cult member, or you support the state murder in George Floyd as a red cult member. Yeah, he was on fentanyl. It's fine. Let the cops choke him to death in the street. He was on drugs. Yeah. Oh, she was at a protest. It's fine for a cop to shoot her in the face, even though she's a fucking Air Force veteran. You're all fucking clowns. All of you. Red cult, blue cult, red clown, blue clown. Have some principles. Congratulations, liberals. This is what you've unleashed. Your January 6th fucking bullshit leads to this. Thank you, you dickheads. We'll be right back. Need to take a breather. And we're back. There are some stories that, you know, you kind of hear in the peripheral a lot, and you're just kind of like, oh, I keep hearing this thing about this thing and that happened. What's this thing that happened? Everyone's talking about this thing. Why am I not hearing as much detail about this thing as I think I should hear about this thing? Well, one of those things. This thing is the Grape Gang story. And if you're online, you've probably heard of it. And if you're watching this stream, you're online. So you've probably heard of it. Now, it hasn't made its way to the mainstream media, and I'm about to show you why. But it's one of those things that right out of the gate, when I started hearing this story, I thought, okay, wow, this seems like some kind of cover for something. It doesn't add up. It like the idea, first of all, the number. Okay, we're going to get into the details here, but the number of people who were supposedly graped is like 250,000 people. So you would think with a volume of grapes that high, like there would be some kind of like major, you know, hey, this happened to my sister, my daughter, but like that for some reason isn't happening. And so that's suspicious right out of the gate. But then you see the faces of the accused, and they happen to be, guess what? What are they, folks? Muslims. Now, whenever I say something that's supposed to scare you, I'm just going to play that noise, Muslims. But this story just reeks of that, of Muslim. So here's the summary for you, just to bring you up to speed, just so you know, just so you're in the know about the grape gangs of the UK. This is Libs of TikTok, very credible source, of course. The source is a source, of course. Forgive me. No one can validate a source, of course. Okay, here we go. That is, of course. The UK Grape Gang Inquiry Report just dropped, and it should make your blood boil. At least 250,000 young white girls were groomed, raped, trafficked, and tortured. 200. That's a lot of people. Where are these people? Who are they? Why are none of them coming forward, even with their faces blurred? I'd like to... Why have none of them given private interviews? We're about to find out. Perpetrators follow consistent tactics of befriending the vulnerable girls as young as 11 with gifts, drugs, and alcohol before subjecting them to group rapes, violence, blackmail, pregnancies, forced conversions, and trafficking. 3. UK institutions, including police, social services, schools, NHS, and politicians, catastrophically failed victims through denial, ignored reports, criminalization of victims, destruction of evidence, and prioritization of political correctness. And see, this is another suspicious element to this story, is how they're trying to blame the whole oversight of it on like people not wanting to be racist against Muslims. Wait, did I just say Muslims? Muslims. "87 and 95% of convicted perpetrators in group-based child exploitation cases were, what were they? Muslim." I'm sorry. It was predominantly Muslim Pakistani gangs. You get it. A bunch of racist drivel. Anyway. Anyone pushing this story is suspicious. Let's see what this says. The report. What is the report? This report details these from testimonies, convictions, and prior inquiries. I would like to see what the convictions are and who the convicted are. Listen, I'm not denying that all these... I'm sure there are people that do bad stuff like this, but it doesn't... They pretend that it's this like huge 250,000. Come on. That is... So anyway, let's get to it. This story just screamed bullshit to me from the start, and I'm going to show you why it is, in fact, complete and total bullshit. There is zero evidence. It's all based on hearsay. So-and-so said this, as all these people's fucking claims always are. Like, oh, they said there was chemical weapons. Like, oh, who died from... I don't know. They put the bodies in a tank or something. I don't know. Just, let's invade. Chemical weapons. This story reeks of that kind of... It oozes that kind of energy. So this account this story is apparently sourced by Rebel News. And if you know much about Rebel News, it's a Canadian news outlet, independent media, with some very suspicious sources of funding. And this account, Z Squirrel, who has blocked me for some reason because the left is oversensitive, and I probably said something that... Hold on, I got some... God damn. Anyway, this account blocked me. I don't know why. I'm obviously upset about it, but whatever. It does good work, and I commend it, but I'm sorry that this is why the left never wins anything, because he blocks someone who said something disagreeable. Anyway, They're correct on this, and they did a breakdown of donors behind Rebel News, and boy, is it rebellious. Let me tell you, you read who these donors are, and it just embodies the word rebel when you see who it is, because everyone knows that rebels always have a ton of our greatest allies' money behind them. So I blew this up for you so we can kind of go through it together. But here is the first portion of this for you. Let me get caught up here. Whoa. The crowd-funded independent grape gang theory, initiated by MP Rupert Lowe, was overseen and led by survivor and activist Sammy Woodhouse. Key structural details regarding how the evidence and investigation were managed include leadership and oversight. While MP Rupert Lowe chaired the inquiry, Sammy Woodhouse oversaw the collection and presentation of evidence. Woodhouse is a prominent British activist and survivor of the Rotterdam child sexual exploitation scandal. Yes, Sammy Woodhouse works as a UK-based journalist and news reporter for Rebel News. Key details surrounding her work for the organization include joining the outlet. Woodhouse, a prominent author, activist, and survivor, joined the platform as a contributor and reporter. Prior to this, she operated as a correspondent for Urban Scoop. I don't know if that's relevant or not. Yes, Rebel News has historically received significant institutional funding from high-profile American Jewish donors and Zionist organizations. While the outlet states that its day-to-day operations are sustained by grassroots audience crowdfunding. It's a little more accurate, crowdfunding. Its international footprint has been directly subsidized by a network of wealthy neoconservative and pro-Israel donors, benefactors. Good choice of words, Google AI, benefactors. The primary donors and institutional backers driving this segment of Rebel News funding include Robert J. Shillman, the Mechanism tech billionaire and prominent supporter of the ZOA, has been one of Rebel News' most influential foreign financial backers. The impact through the Shillman Fellowship, his money explicitly subsidized the salaries of high-profile Rebel News international correspondents. Now, this right here is the key line. His money explicitly subsidized the salaries of high-profile Rebel News international correspondents, which means your girl, I forget her name already, Woodhouse or whatever, probably gets money from one of these people exclusively, like it says right here. His money explicitly subsidized salaries of high-profile Rebel News international correspondents. So there's definitely a reason to believe that she's paid very decently by certain people to report in a certain way. Let's put it that way. Last but not least, David Horowitz, Freedom Center, DHFC, the Mechanism, founded by conservative activist David Horowitz. This U.S.-based think tank works in close tandem with Shillman to distribute funding to aligned media operations. Sounds kind of like Soros! George Soros. The impact, DHFC has routed six-figure sums into the broader alternative right-wing media ecosystem, directly co-sponsoring the journalism fellowships used by Rebel News to finance international counter jihad? Counter jihad commentary and video reportage. Interesting. So would counter jihad reporting be a completely manufactured story about grape gangs and Muslims? So let's keep going here. The Middle East Forum, the Mechanism of the Middle East Forum, led by Daniel Pipes, Philadelphia-based conservative think tank, heavily funded by major pro-Israel donors and pro-Zionist foundations, such as. Are you seeing a theme here with Rebel News? Very interesting theme with these benefactors, isn't there? The impact. The MEF provided Ezra Levant's platform with an undisclosed cash injection from a $2 million specialized fund. The organization also steps in independently to spend tens of thousands of dollars to cover legal defense fees for the platform's close associates, including our good boy Timmy Robinson. Timmy Robinson! Yay, Timmy! Ezra Levant's own background. The Rebel News founder, Ezra Levant, is himself Jewish and an outspoken Zionist. So there you have it. Definitely no ulterior motives behind Rebel News and their Grape Gang story. I can assure you they're just good people trying to frame the Muslims for like mass grape, like what? And just one final piece of evidence that this story is complete dog shit. This lady is touting it. You know, when this lady's on board, it's complete dog shit. Look at this.
Muslims in the UK. It's 4 stadiums. In your stammer, cover that up.
4 that's the part about the claim that makes it very easily debunkable is the 250,000 part. It's like, really? You would think if it was really that many people affected by this, there would be some real like outrage among the families and where are they? And there isn't any because this is a manufactured story. But that lady, I don't want to get too far into this. She's so, have you ever seen the hotness crazy scale? There's a whole thing in the internet lore called the hot crazy scale where like you rank girls on like the hot crazy scale and you have to find like the perfect mix of hot and crazy. It's not misogynist, I swear, ladies, if you're watching this. Look it up. It's a thing though. But anyway, you know a story again is complete trash when this lady is out there.
250,000 girls were raped and tortured by
Even
Muslims.
though she's hot and crazy, it would probably be a lot of fun in bed. A lot of fun. I mean, like a lot of fun. But also, she's just is very unhinged. We'll leave it at that. Unhinged politically, but hey, you know, sometimes that works in other departments. And we'll move on to our most recent recurring segment on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for The Week in Propaganda. Yes, y'all. It's The Week in Propaganda for the week of June 28th, 2026. We're bringing you the freshest, hottest propaganda on the block. Top 10 propaganda, the latest, greatest propaganda.
Who cares what an irrelevant, lamestream media is going to say about you?
Speaking of Fox News, Megyn Kelly. Oh my God. Megyn Kelly is a low-key racist. And I just wanted, when this came up in my feed, I wanted to flashback, if you will. Where's my flashback sound effect? Oh, I can't get to it now because this fucking thing sucks. My flashback sound effect. Oh, it's not even. Here it is. So I wanted to flash back to the time when Megyn Kelly said Jesus was white and Santa needed to stay white because who gives a shit? Santa Claus is basically like a fucking Coca-Cola marketing thing. For real. Like, look it up. It really is. And Jesus, who gives a shit? Jesus was a nice guy, I'm sure. But he definitely wasn't white. He was from the fucking Middle East. There's this whole scientific thing, Megyn, called melanin. And people that come from sunny areas have dark skin because of melanin. Look it up. Google it. Grok it if you need to.
I want to. You go back to your home on Whore Island.
So Megyn Kelly recently brought the racism on a level that I haven't seen in a minute from a lot of people, from people like Megyn Kelly. But let's just show you the clip. Let's show you the clip, and then we're going to discuss some feedback. Jimmy, on the clip.
Go home. Get out. We know our country's better than yours. That's because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it. And half of you people, more than half, you won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to fucking Haiti. Sorry. I'm thinking about our friends in Ohio.
I just imagine, like, they're like, ma'am, you're at the drive-thru. Can you please place your order or move along, ma'am?
And get out. You people, more than half, you won't assimilate. We don't want you.
Ma'am.
We don't care if you're offended.
Ma'am.
Get out. Go home.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Go back to fucking Haiti. Sorry.
Ma'am, can you please?
I'm thinking about our friends in Ohio.
Do you
who've
want
been dealing
fries with
these
that, ma'am?
TPS patients for years now, who are drunk driving all over their towns and killing people.
Ma'am,
This is the whole cat
I'm
and
sorry
dog
about your
thing.
drunk driving
Like,
accident, ma'am.
They don't want to live like
Ma'am, can you
Americans live.
Please get out of the
And
drive-thru if you're
this was
not going
supposed
to
be a
finish your order.
temporary- It was supposed to be temporary help.
Okay. Now that was fun and everything, but we have to ask ourselves a question, which people like Megyn Kelly rarely ask. And that is, why are these people here? Why are they coming here? Who's inviting them? Why do they need to come here? Those are the better questions, because blaming the poor immigrants for their stature in life is not going to help anyone, especially them and especially you, because now you just sound like a angry old woman yelling at someone to get off your lawn, or, you know, who won't get out of the drive-thrus yelling at the fucking Haitian guy trying to serve you Chick-fil-A. And so I think that, you know, one of the greats really broke this down in a way that it needed to be broke down, and that's your friend of mine, Jimmy Dore. So I'm going to just read what he said here, because it really echoes my sentiment on the matter, and it adds a lot of nuance that I might not have added myself. Truly breathtaking what Megyn Kelly intentionally leaves out in her rant. Kelly pretends the problem is some inherent flaw in Haitian culture or lack of work ethic. In reality, the conditions forcing people to flee, extreme poverty, gang violence fueled by desperation, collapsed institutions, are the direct legacy of U.S.-backed coups, economic warfare, and neo-colonial policies designed to keep Haiti weak, dependent, and a source of exploitable labor. That is 1,000% accurate. It could not have been said much better. But let's keep going. Direct U.S. interventions destroyed their ability to build a decent life at home. Demanding they go back to the ruins those policies helped engineer is pure hypocrisy. The desperation isn't innate. It was manufactured by the very powerful economic forces and U.S. government coups Kelly refuses to acknowledge. And then Jimmy goes into details that I didn't know. Aristide. When Jean-Bertrand Aristide, Haiti's first democratically elected president backed by the poor and working masses, took office, his government immediately moved to double the minimum wage. Interesting thread here, since we just talked about Seattle and rent freezes and how hard these people will fight to stop you from giving people a decent living standard. Took office, his government immediately moves to double, mobilize the poor, bolster healthcare and education, foster neighborhood truces, and hold paramilitaries accountable. These pro-worker steps threaten the sweatshop owners and foreign interests profiting from starvation wages. The U.S. responded with economic sabotage and a violent coup. A classified diplomatic cable obtained by the Gray Zone reveals veteran CIA operative Janice Elmore operating under State Department cover, meeting coup plotters and disloyal police in Gonçalves right before strategic 2002 jailbreak that freed paramilitaries and set the 2004 overthrow in motion. Sounds eerily similar to Eastern Europe, doesn't it? Very curious. The Bush administration, through the U.S. government-funded International Republican Institute, trained and unified Aristide's opponents and encouraged them to reject power sharing, imposed crippling sanctions that froze loans and aid, and ultimately backed the coup that ousted Aristide on February 29th, 2004. Post-coup, the price of rice, the staple food for Haiti's poor, more than doubled in months. Now, one of the things you'll notice here is how this policy continued across administrations from Clinton to Bush seamlessly. Despite what you vote for, the policy is going to continue because what you vote for doesn't matter. Post-coup, the price of rice, the staple food for Haiti's poor, more than doubled in months. Looting, chaos, starvation risks, mass layoffs, and paramilitary violence followed. Regime change delivered exactly what the poor had feared, more misery. This fits a longer pattern. Under Bill Clinton, the U.S. slashed tariffs on subsidized American rice, flooding Haiti and wiping out local rice farmers. Clinton himself later admitted, "It may have been good for some of my farmers in Arkansas, but it has not worked. It was a mistake." The result was the destruction of Haitian agriculture and forced dependence on low-wage factory jobs. WikiLeaks cables show U.S. officials and contractors for American brands actively pressured Haitian governments against even modest minimum wage increases, opposing a rise from 24 cents to 61 cents an hour as supposedly not reflecting economic reality. Yeah, for them. Aristide's earlier wage hikes were sabotaged for the same reason, protecting cheap U.S. labor for U.S. corporate interests. So that's the first part of the equation that Megyn conveniently, leaves out of her criticism of Haitian immigrants. No one ever goes, "Hey, why are these people here?" No one ever asked that question. Why is that? But another reason for this rant, I think, a very intelligent take. Another intelligent take here is from Mel, Village Crazy Lady, about Megyn and why she's doing this. And Mel puts it like this. Megyn's doing what Charlie did. She thinks if she kicks up the rhetoric on other issues, the right cares about, it'll lessen the blowback she's getting from the Israel First crowd. She's trying to create strong common causes with America Firsters around immigration to mitigate the fallout from Zionists pulling out. Charlie did the same thing, taking his anti-Muslim rhetoric to 10. This is a stupid strategy for multiple reasons. One, extreme harshness like this, especially from a woman, has very little appeal to 90% of Republicans or anyone else. The only person to ever pull it off successfully was Trump, and that's because he incorporated jokes and talked out the other side of his mouth like an hour later. Two, hardcore Zionists only care about one thing. They genuinely don't give a fuck about anything else. They will gladly team up with godless intersex communists to destroy you if you dare challenge their authority, especially if you relied on them to get where you are, which both Charlie and Megyn did. This reeks of desperation. It's inauthentic and completely unnecessary, considering the court already pretty much said this in its ruling. The only way out is through, babe. Embrace the hate and anger levied against you by the Zionists trying to destroy you. Let it fuel you. Thank you. So that is pretty much the racist take of the week. You're better than that, Megyn Kelly. Come on. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I misjudged you. Moving on. This guy's starting to have a little bit of a resurgence here in the week in propaganda. Joe McCarthy. And I just want to touch briefly on this because I got into it with this guy who's probably a troll, but there are a lot of people that actually believe this, and I just want to really quick run over it with a dump truck because it needs to be run over with a dump truck. I foresee that a 21st century equivalent to Joe McCarthy will soon emerge. They shouldn't be called Democrats. They should be referred to properly as the Commie-crat Party. I said there are already plenty of half-wits like this guy in both major parties. One clown says Trump is a secret Russian. Another clown says blank is a communist traitor. All of them are half-wit circus clowns, just like McCarthy before them, un-American clowns. This guy says, if you look at actual history of what McCarthy did and who he was accusing, he was mostly right. He really did expose a lot of the real communists who had infiltrated our government. The media, which is 90% leftist, will never acknowledge this reality. A raging alcoholic with a persecution complex. Hegseth is already there. Hegseth may be the greatest, most effective. So, as you can see, here's someone else who Congressman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a true but ugly person, operated the DNC convention, declared the Democrat Party was the new socialist Democrat. They're actually like, imagine thinking Debbie Wasserman Schultz is like some kind of socialist. Oh my God. Look at this guy down here too. He tried to warn you, and you know what? I always listened to him. I always liked him. Well, I want to show you what the experts over at Google AI have to say. Here is what Google AI has to say about Senator Joe McCarthy. Take it for what it's worth, fam. Fam. This is what we got, okay? I know it's weighted in favor of the establishment, but this is what we have access to right here, right now. Historical consensus judges Senator Joseph McCarthy negatively, largely viewing him as an unscrupulous political opportunist rather than a good person. He is universally remembered for championing McCarthyism, the practice of making reckless, unsubstantiated accusations and public attacks on the character and patriotism of political opponents. Major criticisms of his character and actions include lack of evidence. One of the big ones, we just covered a whole story with a lack of evidence behind it. He became infamous during the 1950s for claiming that hundreds of communist and Soviet spies had infiltrated the U.S. government. Abuse of power. As a chairman of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, McCarthy routinely disregarded the constitutional rights and due process of the individuals he targeted. Tarnishing reputations. His aggressive guilt by association tactics ruined the careers and lives of many innocent people. Censure. His bullying eventually led to his downfall. During the televised 1954 Army McCarthy hearings, the U.S. Senate formally censured him later that year for conduct unbecoming of a senator. That would never happen today. Americans are so goddamn weak. So I also want to talk about the reality of how this guy is a patsy. That's right. This guy is a patsy. 1,000%, without a doubt, that guy is a patsy. Much like Arby's has the meats, I've got the tweets. We've got the tweets. We've got. Don't you love it when I sing to you? We've got the tweets. We've got the tweets. We've got the tweets. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for that.
I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad ones. I've gone to a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tornadoes. I've never.
Imagine being dumb enough to buy Kash Patel's Charlie Kirk story. It's very clear that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. Now, I'm quote tweeting this Baron Coleman tweet, which I'm going to read and show to you right now. This is a previously unseen and unpublished picture of Charlie Kirk being carried to the SUV. Notice the marks under his right nipple. Notice the, perhaps more importantly, the absence of marks in a rectangle formation. TPUSA insiders have time to come forward, but it's running out. This day isn't going to end well for you, I promise. So this really looks like something probably, and allegedly, I'm going to say this allegedly, it really does look like something probably exploded under his shirt. And the conspiracy theory now, if you've been paying attention, is that Charlie here, or should I say Tyler here, was supposed to be killed by the police, but he accidentally was not killed by the police. And the explosion under Charlie's shirt was supposed to be a big enough explosion that it opened his chest and looked like a major gunshot wound to the chest. That didn't work out. But luckily for them, not so luckily for Charlie, a piece of the, explosive device shot into his neck and caused him to bleed out. No, again, that's the conspiracy theory, alleged. This is, I shouldn't say conspiracy theory. That's one of the theories of what possibly happened. No one knows for sure, except the people that were there, who are also kind of starting to look a little shady, if we're being honest. But, I think at the end of the day, what you can say with absolute certainty here is that Candace Owens and Baron Coleman here are right to look deeper into this, and that we really need to be presented with, or, this really needs to be given a deeper look, because it's very clear that this guy did not shoot Charlie Kirk with the gun that they're saying that he did. It's very clear. I mean, now, this is the other thing I think that goes in favor of this theory that there was an explosive device under Charlie's shirt that went off rather than a gunshot that killed him. And that is the strange coincidence of how many of the things that were on Charlie have kind of disappeared and were not put into evidence, like his shirt and his necklace. And then the strange way that the shooting site was paved over quickly, that would lead one to believe that they're trying to make sure that no one can test anything for explosive residue, because that would be a smoking gun, that it was not a gunshot that killed the man. And that would, of course, prompt a deeper look into what actually happened, which would likely expose a lot of people who have been lying quite a bit for the last year. Almost a year. What was it? It happened in September of last year, I think. So it would have been, it would have been, it won't be a year yet. We're still in June. So really, like, what is it, 9 months, 8 months since this happened? And it's funny because, it's also funny how quickly, this is the other thing, it's not funny, but it's suspicious how quickly a lot of the people who currently run Charlie's business and podcast and his entire life that he left behind were so quick to want to move on without any kind of investigation. You would think that, if they deeply loved this man and cared deeply for him, they would want to know without a doubt who actually killed him. And it doesn't, it's very suspicious that they're just like, okay, he did it, definitely, no questions asked, let's just keep on trucking. His wife comes out, I forgive him for killing my husband, but can't seem to forgive Candace Owens for looking into it. I forgive the guy who pulled the trigger, but Candace Owens needs to stop looking into this, or she's a demon. That's the logic you have to lap up to buy this whole story the way it came. And it's just, I think, and there's a lot of people that want it to be the left, because the left, of course, the left is the most violent thing ever, all the left. People forget that, the guy who shot Gabby Giffords, like, there isn't a party that has a monopoly on political violence, let's be honest. And there also isn't a left in America, a legitimate one, outside of the Antifa cops, the undercover cops playing Antifa agents that Dave Portnoy is interviewing. I love Dave Portnoy, and the way he was like, what if you were rich like me and you had a vacation house, huh? I mean, then you wouldn't be wearing a mask out here. It's like, dude, you are such a dumbass.
I like that song. Yay!
Oh my God. Well, I have a couple more things to share with you before we end this. And thankfully, it sounds like the microphone has worked this time. I don't know what happened with the last stream, but whatever. Hey, I'm not going to be deterred. I'm going to go ahead and take full responsibility. I'm sure it was my gear or some glitch in my shit that caused it. I'm going to do it again, and we're going to keep on trucking. So here we go. Let's this last piece for the night is going to start with Make Go A Slop Great Again. I'm not sure who this artist is. but I found the cover of his Spotify record, and I found it to be extremely relevant to the conversation that we're about to have. I don't know if you pay much attention. Well, hold on a second. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to try a quick experiment. I will be right back. I'm going to end this. Give me 1 second. All right. Final segment of the night, folks. We're going to talk about goy slop and, of course, anti-Semitism that it kind of comes with that. Now, as we know, this is one of the reasons I had to reboot my studio here is for this.
ADL is played out. Nobody knows who the ADL are. Stop giving them attention. Nobody cares about the ADL. No one in high school knew what the word anti-Semitic was until Ye made it popular.
So I want to show you, to start here, the ADL is back in the news. And you know how we feel about the ADL. Kanye, let's hear one.
ADL is played out. Nobody knows who the ADL are. Stop giving them attention. Nobody.
Oh, I hear you. It's definitely a tiger by the tail.
The ADL recently put out a tweet that a lot of people have been discussing. And it involves one of my new favorite words, which is goy slop. This guy says, the brightest minds at the ADL and AIPAC are currently looking for ways to declare the term goyim anti-Semitic without sounding utterly retarded. So hilarious how Epstein made the term mainstream overnight. LMAO. So here is the ADL throwing down on the term goy slop, and let's dive right into this. A slur doesn't stop being a slur because teenagers started using it. Today's NY Times on Language column treats the anti-Semitic slur goy slop as a fun linguistic curiosity rather than what it is, a term rooted in white supremacist conspiracy.
No one in high school knew what the word anti-Semitic was until Ye made it popular.
Normalizing this kind of language is dangerous. Goy slop is not just edgy slang. It combines goy, the Hebrew word that colloquially, they try to make it sound all innocent, the Hebrew word that colloquially refers to non-Jews, with slop to promote a conspiracy theory that Jewish people deliberately poison non-Jews with cheap food to keep them docile. It was coined and spread by anti-Semites and white supremacists. No amount of teenage adoption changes that origin.
No one in high school knew what the word anti-Semitic was until Ye made it popular.
Such terms spread negative stereotypes and conspiracy theories. Their normalization is exactly what the bigots who coined them aspire to. A bit more on this here. So the ADL is upset about the noticing. A lot of noticing happening these days. Now, one of my favorite noticings, I have to admit, is this AI video that someone made promoting goy slop as a restaurant similar to McDonald's. And this is absolutely genius. You're going to love every minute of it. Are you ready for some real food?
Your stomach calling? Need a processed meal to destroy your insides? Look no further than goy slop, the place where food controls you. Our secret Israeli-designed brown goo will kill you. We're not kidding. we're here to poison Goyim.
I love Goyslop. My wife and her lover love Goyslop. We're really proud of the work we've been doing here at Goyslop. I feel so full of energy whenever I take a bite. I love Israel.
So come on down to Goyslop. Clog your arteries and serve the mega corporations. Call 1-800-GOY-SLOP now and become the Goy you were always meant to be. Your stomach call.
Become the Goy you were always meant to be. That's a very positive message. I would like to apologize in advance for that very anti-Semitic AI video that was just played.
No one in high school knew what the word anti-Semitic was until Ye made it popular.
Thank you, Conde. All right, well, we're going to close out with something funny. And this is actually politically related. I thought this was so great because this is how reporters deserve to be treated in general. And your boy, Thomas Massie, brought the fire with this one. And let's bring it to you right now. Here you go. Thomas Massie in effect right here. Voyeuristic Fox reporter Nicholas Balassi, unsure and uneasy when questioned about alleged gay porn watching habit.
Anything you could say.
So let me ask you. I heard that you like gay porn. Is that true?
Congressman, I'm not. I just want to give you a chance. Your
I'm
side.
giving you a
That's
chance to
no,
give
I'm
me
not,
your
I'm
side.
not going to get into
Are
that.
you a real news organization or not? No, come back, man. All you got to say is you don't like it. That you haven't been to those websites.
Of course,
All right.
Of course, I don't like it.
Really?
But thank you.
That's not what I heard.
Thank you for your time. Just giving you a chance to respond. That's all.
And you're with
But
Fox?
thank you.
Is that a real news organization? Is this what you do for a living, man?
Wait, who's he with? I just love the way he flipped that around on that guy, and more reporters need that because that's the kind of shit that they do to people. And it's always interesting. It's like I worked in sales, and I remember this one time. I went to pitch this like Chamber of Commerce office, and when I walked in, they're like, "Oh, you want to sell advertising? Come here, talk to our marketing people." And the marketing's like, "Oh, you like to sell advertising?" I'm like, how would you like to be a member? Why don't you talk to our sales team? They literally flipped me over because I came in to try and get them to buy advertising to their sales team. And then their salespeople started calling me. And it's like almost immediately, like I felt what it was like to be on the other end of what I was doing as a salesperson, like calling, "Hey, do you want to buy this? Want to buy this?" All of a sudden I was like, oh my God, this is how it is. This guy's like calling me like an hour after this walk in and like, "Hey, do you want to join?" You know, it's like, wow. So that's kind of what happened here with Massie and this reporter. But at the end of the day, I am encouraged by the direction that the political landscape is heading right now. I think that we're heading in the right direction. I think a lot of people are starting to realize the kind of nonsense divisions that are put in front of us and how much we actually have in common rather than focus on, things that divide us like, oh, well, you shouldn't go in that bathroom, or who cares, you can't play in that sport, it's all stupid. And let's just stop fighting over stupid things and focus on, like Seattle, making our quality of life better, ending bullshit overseas nonsense that's going to result in death and destruction rather than focusing internally. A very wise man once said, "You better check yourself before you wreck yourself." And boy, was he right. But let's close it out today with a little bit of festive Tim Dillon celebrating Russian missiles in a Tim Dillon Russian missile Christmas carol. Tim Dillon Russian missile Christmas carol. And we will see you all next week. Thank you again for sticking with me and watching again if you did. And I apologize for the poor quality of my earlier broadcast. I will strive to do better every time. I'm going to take you out with a couple different clips here. Enjoy. We'll see you next week. Hit me in the comments. Follow me on Twitter. all that good shit.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is the first ICBM used in the history of war. I'm sorry, in the history of this war. Oh, wait, any war? The view of the intercontinental ballistic missile used today by Russia with multiple re-entry warheads on a city in Ukraine. It's possibly the first use of an ICBM in the history of war. Take a look at this. It is a beautiful, and by the way, send this to everyone as an e-card for Thanksgiving. Send it to them as an e-card for Thanksgiving. Take a look. Can you play non-copyrighted holiday music while this happens?
Yeah, I'll put it up on YouTube.
Because I think it's about attitude, and I think it's about the way we present something. I don't think it's about the raw facts. I think it's all the way you look at it. Perspective is reality. Is there a way to make Russia firing an ICBM, can we make it feel jolly? Can we make it feel nice? Do we have to focus on the negative aspects of it? You know, I mean, listen, remember when they were running articles in New York Times going, you know, nuclear war has some benefits and maybe everybody should get over their fear of nuclear war. And we're going to pull that article up in a minute, but they're genuinely sick people who are saying, well, nuclear war maybe wouldn't be the worst thing. So here we're going to play a little non-copyrighted Christmas music. Ooh, I like that. Now get the ICBM up. Well, this is nice. Now it feels like the Christmas show. This doesn't scare me anymore. It feels like a light show for the holidays. Keep playing that missile. I like this missile. This is a holiday missile. This is not a bad missile at all. What if they did it and it lit up the sky with like Frosty the Snowman? It's all about the way you look at it, folks. Nuclear war is a good reset. I think people in this country have decided in small rooms or in forests or wherever they meet and talk that nuclear war is actually a nice reset. It might get rid of a few of you mouth breathers who keep complaining you don't have enough money for canned food. All right, we'll get rid of this. Get that article up.